Hey guys, and welcome to the Tactical Tauntaun, where we discuss X-Wing miniatures, Imperial Assault, Rebellion, Destiny, and all things Star Wars. I'm Patrick.
And I'm Will.
Thank you guys for tuning in, and today we have our Tactical Tuesday video, and we are going to be just doing an overhead view of the map and talking about rock placement, its importance in the initial setup of the game. I think that and everybody has their own ways of setting things up,
right.
Their own thought process behind it. And some people, they don't care where they put the rocks, and they don't feel it's important. And I think it comes down to lists.
Yeah, if you're flying a dash list, you don't really care where it's at. You just put them down there, or maybe you should care, because then maybe depending on what you're flying against, you can cut off lanes and stuff like that. So it depends on what you're flying, depends on what you're flying against, depends on what you want. Sometimes it's better to cut off lanes for the other people. Sometimes you want to leave lanes open no matter what, because that's just going to benefit you.
Right.
So
it depends on the list you're flying and the list you're flying against. I mean, if I'm flying a swarm of ties, I'm going to create lanes. If I'm flying against it, I'm going to try to plug those lanes up as they create them.
Right.
People have different thought processes on when they of how they want to place rocks. You know, do I want to place the first rock? Do I want to place the last rock? You know, if I have the choice of giving you initiative, taking initiative, you know, and I don't care about shooting first or moving first because I'm out PSing you, I personally like to place the last rock.
Right.
I know you like to place the first rock.
Yep.
So I mean, those are just differences, and I think that's just opinion and what you're comfortable with.
Yeah. So in this first cut that you're going to see, we're going to start it off, and Patrick is going to be placing them as if he was flying his Asajj, Finn, and Old Terrock list.
Yep.
Is that right?
That's correct. That's my tournament list, and that's the list I won my store championship with.
Yeah. The second video that you're going to see is placing rocks as if I was flying the Triple K Wing bombers that I tend to fly a lot of, all cluster mines. So what I want there is I want open lanes so I can slam through, and if I can drop them directly on the ship, drop them in front, or basically block off lanes so you can't fly through it. So that's what you're going to see in the second video. And again, all opinions, let us know what you think. Let us know if you watch it and you're like, that's not really a good idea if you're flying this list, or maybe you should think about putting it there. Just let us know what you think, because in this game there's lots of different opinions. None of them are necessarily right. None of them are necessarily wrong.
It's what you're comfortable with, what's going to help you win the game.
Right, exactly.
So let's check this thing out.
Right, appreciate it.
All right. All right, guys, we are now with our overhead view of a standard Star Wars playmat, and we are going to just show an example of how Will and I place rocks for the different lists we play. My tournament list that I typically play is Asajj Ventress in the Shadowcaster with 2 protected starfighters, Finn Rao and Old Turok. And basically what I'm trying to do is create an area that I can maneuver Asajj in a circle going either direction, and keeping her her secondary firing arc towards the center of the board, and just continue to make circles around the board. So I'm going to try to always put my rocks out in a way that leaves her a big space to move in and out. I mean, she is very maneuverable and has a lot of great green turns and things like that, so it is a little easier to maneuver her around. But when I'm placing my rocks for this list, that's my whole purpose, is to create these lanes that allow me to circle with Asajj Ventress, whether I'm going clockwise or counterclockwise. So if I have the initiative or the choice of initiative, depending, again, like we said earlier, of whether I want to either give that up to outmaneuver other PS9 ships or other PS7 ships, which is what Old Turok is, and Finn Rao's a PS9. Then I'm going to do that. Anytime that I don't, like I told you earlier, if I don't care about moving first, shooting first, if it doesn't matter because my opponent has such low pilot skill on their ships, I tend to like to allow my opponent to place the first rock and then I can make my decisions based on that. So in this scenario, we're going to assume that Will's ships are all a lower PS than mine, or at least different PSs than mine, and I'm giving him first place on a rock.
Okay, so my thought process here is I know what Patrick likes to do just with Asajj, and you got Fenn Rau, and then you have Old Terrock. So they're all maneuverable ships. They want, you want to try and cut off Asajj, so you don't want to give any lanes, or if you do give lanes, you also want to be able to use them to your advantage, whether to run past and then turn, make them turn in, or something like that. So the first thing I'm going to normally do is just go outside of range 2 with a big rock, whether it's one of mine or whether Patrick's, depending on what he's brought, and kind of put it in to kind of start blocking off an area. So that would be my first maneuver.
So when he's moved this here, instead of placing it at a range 2 away from the board, he's giving me a wide lane here, but what he's trying to do is cut off something coming around this way, or maybe even come around this way. So what I'll typically do at this point is take the largest rock he has and have him 2x2 corner that up in that area, and go ahead and start creating a lane there. Alright, and then Will's going to have to try to shut this down, because I've now given myself a lane here.
Right, and he's used the next biggest rock, so now I have less rock to cut off something else for him. So for me, what I would do here is maybe come in here. Yeah, he's still got a lot of room in this area, but what I'm trying to do is also give me room to maneuver depending on where he sets up. Now I can set up here, here, or here, and I can turn if he sets, depending on where he sets up, I can turn away and make him kind of go through the rocks as well. That would be my thought process in this moment in time.
Okay, so I'm going to place my next rock, and then after Will places, I'll tell you why I chose the spot I did, to kind of make it so that Will's has a more of a decision make rather than understand what I'm doing, unless he just kind of knows. But I'm going to come down in here just like this, and I want to slide that in just like that. And these are the rocks that we have left.
So why did you place there?
Now you go ahead and place, and then we'll talk about that.
He placed there because now I can't put one range 1. So now he's given himself a bigger lane. So the only thing I can think to do in response to that is maybe place this range 1 there. He's got a little bit more of a lane. He's got some room to move. I have some room to move. But it cuts off this huge, let's turn in and come straight through at me. Now he's going to have to turn. So it can help me a little bit there. I think whether or not it actually does, we don't know.
Okay, so the reason I came down in this area is exactly that. I wanted to have a lane here, but also I wanted to draw him here, because now I've continued to leave this large space open. So I can come in here, I've got a lot of room, or I could just corner this up here and really leave myself room to maneuver. And now I've created this place where I can just make a big circle around here. I can even go to the outsides of this, and even with the Asajj Ventress, she has such maneuverability. I mean, I can come right through here with hard turns and bring that ship into here if I need to get into this area. So I'm probably either going to close this off to him, but I don't think that's the best thing at this point. I think that is coming here and just cornering this one up is my best option. And it's the other reason I like to give my opponent when initiative doesn't really matter to me as far as moving and shooting first. I like to place the last rock. Allow my opponent to place the first rock, and I may have said this earlier, but allow my opponent to place the first rock kind of gives me a better idea of how I want to proceed, and I also get the opportunity to place the last rock, which for me is more important than placing the first rock. So this would be my setup for the rocks, and now what I've done is I've allowed myself to begin with Asajj Ventress right here, just off center of the table, and go ahead and put her mobile firing arc to the left and just take off in this direction. and just swing around here, and I can even line her up to come right through here if I needed to, or bring her around the back side, and then it allows me to run her with Old Turok as a wingman, and then split Finn Rao off, because I really want to force my opponent to choose between Asajj Ventress and Finn Rao.
Yeah, and so what I would do, lower PS squad, I would actually set up either in one of these two corners. I would place here or place here, and then, obviously depending on where he would, I would go in slow and then maybe cut in, depending on what I'm flying, and kind of run away and force him to come through those rocks. If he makes it through without any problems, hey, good for him. He did good flying.
And you can also at this point start blocking with your cannon fodder ships if you have any.
Right.
If you're flying a list with some just regular TIE fighters, or some Z95 headhunters, this is a perfect area to block ships as they're coming through these rocks and forcing them.
Yeah, I typically, if I've flown a lot of triple K-wing bombers before, so if I was flying that in this list, I would actually go ahead and bring them up, slam, and then drop here, and maybe even drop here, and force him to have to come around this way, and maybe even bring a ship in here and drop some clusters there. That way I've cut off 1, 2, 3 lanes. He's got to go around, he's got to chase me, and maybe I can get a shot lined up with some bombs on Finn or Old Tarok and take them out. So it does depend a lot on what you're flying, what you're flying against, what you want to do. Obviously if you're Dash Rendar, you just throw them down. You really don't care where they're at, depending on what else you're flying, because he's just going to go straight over them. But this gives Patrick lots of lanes, but it also gives me some blocking. It forces him to have to choose to come all the way around. And if he wants to come in here, that's fine, but he's got to go maybe a little slower to get through there to make sure he doesn't land on rocks. So
yeah, I'm going to stay out of this area if I can, but I've set it up so that I can use it.
Yeah.
The big thing is just learning to fly around the rocks, and that takes practice, and you just got to get out there and practice with it.
Okay guys, we're going to start with a new scenario now. Now we're going to go, I'm going to say that, what's your typical list run at? Your tournament, is it 100?
Yeah, it's...
and I'm 100,
I think
but...
it's 99 actually.
99, so Patrick's going to get initiative here.
I'm actually 100 now. I changed
100?
something up. I'm at 100.
Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to change it up because Patrick likes to place last. This time I'm going to get to place last, but I'm going to be flying the K-wing bombers and how I want to set up rocks to allow me to cut off more lanes again for him, or maybe even open up some stuff so I can know that I can slam through and get a drop a bomb right in front or directly on Finn Rao. So I'm going to allow Patrick.
And so what are your PS of your 3 ships?
They're all 2s.
They're all 2s. Okay.
Yeah, they're all 2s.
So again, here's a situation where I don't care if I have initiative or not. It just has to do with first or last rock placement.
Right.
So you're at 100 points?
I'm at 100 points.
So you win the roll, and you have the choice here of placing the first rock or the last rock.
But I give it to Patrick because I want to place last.
Okay, so at this point, what I want to do then is I want to make sure I got plenty of open room, and I'm just going to go ahead and corner up this rock. My goal is to keep as much stuff on this side so that we can do all of the flying down on Will's end of the board. But he knows that's what I want to do, but we will see how he counters that. So we'll do that big rock there, and
so what I'm going to do is I'm going to again come over here, get a little bit off of 2 with a large rock, because I don't mind the open lanes at this point. If I'm flying the bombers, I want to be able to slam through, make sure I don't land on rocks, but be able to get through and drop bombs.
so I'm going to take a smaller rock at this point, and what I want to do is, because he came over, he's not at 2, I can actually come over to 2 right in here, and what I'm doing is I'm shutting off a lane for him, and I'm going to bring this in at range 1 of this rock as well, like that. Get this a little bit more, and we get that, and that is going to just slice off a piece of this pie over here.
So then again, going to put this one just inside of range 2.
All right,
So that I've got another lane to come through. I can go through here with my K-wings. That's actually enough room for me to not be worried about
and
it.
what he wants to be able to do is just spread, usually spread the cluster mines across there. So to counter that, I want to shut this down if I can, and I'm going to just try to get this right in here. Yes, good. We can come just like that, and let's get this here. And I'm probably going to go back this a little more. All right.
So I've got last rock, and at this point, again, with my small base ships, this doesn't scare me. I'm not worried about this. Like Patrick said, what I can do if I need to, if I can see that he's going to possibly come around here with Asajj, what I can do, and hopefully trap him, especially if he's stuck right here, is come through here, drop some bombs in front of him, force him to either turn and get out of this area, but force him then to have to take some time to get back into position and re-engage. So what I would do here is actually just corner that 2 and 2, because again, I want...
It's almost an irrelevant rock, right?
Yeah, but I want to be able to move and be able to drop bombs by slamming. Right now, that's still an option. That may change. We all know that. But this way, I've got room to slam past rocks, or if need be, if I need the cover, I can get behind one of these rocks. That way, if he shoots at me, I get extra die for evades. Yes, he'll get the extra die, but really with K-Wings, all you're trying to do is survive to drop bombs.
Right. So in this scenario, when I set up, I'm still going to set up just off center with Asajj. Maybe even direct center, because this time I'm probably going to circle this direction. I'll still split fin route. I'll probably even split fin route and ultra completely. My goal then is to feign down this way as if I may come through there and try to shoot him come in from behind. And we want to engage everything. We want to force everything to this part of the board over here.
Yeah, I typically set up with my 3 K-Wings, one in the middle, one on each edge, and depending on who has Sabine on it, I will turn them in depending on where I think the battle, and kind of run away a little while to keep Sabine alive a little bit longer so I can take advantage of the extra damage for dropping bombs. So that's typically how I would set up for triple K-Wings. Again, different depending on what you're flying and what your opponent's flying. This is, this is just our opinion. We're not saying this is an exact science, because it really isn't, I don't believe.
No, it's not. I mean, really, we're just kind of giving you our thought process in how we're approaching this, because I think sometimes, especially with newer players, they just play stuff out there and not really take a whole lot into consideration. Especially, let's say you're flying against a swarm of TIE fighters. Your opponent is trying to create 3 lanes, really 5 lanes, across here. So I've got to, my goal is then to plug those lanes up.
Yeah, force them to either break up the formation, which they don't want to do, or have to fly around and take extra time.
Right.
And what you're hoping to do at that point, if you're flying against a swarm of TIEs, is come around, jump in, and get behind them to the side of them. Yeah. So you're shooting before they get to shoot.
And if you're chasing them, it's best. But the biggest thing is just break them up, especially if they have a Howl Runner there. I mean, you got a swarm of 7 TIE fighters. That's set. If he gets them all in range 1 of each other of Howl Runner, that's 6 extra dice they're firing.
Yep. So, all right. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. We'll kind of give a summary here in just a minute.
Yep. Feel free to critique this.
Yeah. Let us know how much we made a mistake with setting up those rocks, because I'm sure everybody's got an opinion.
So I hope you guys got a little bit of good information from that. Again, this is just what we prefer. It doesn't necessarily mean that this is the correct way to do it all the time. It may not even be the way you do it, but it's what works for us.
Right.
And hopefully you can kind of see our thought process behind it and apply some of that, at least apply the thought process to your build.
Yeah.
Right.
And I think that, that's one of the things new players, I know when I first started placing rocks, I just put them down.
I did too, and then I flew in them.
Yeah, and I didn't understand the importance, but the more I've played, the more I've watched other people play. One of the other gentlemen in the 336 Squadron sat down with me, and Alvin, and he sat down and he walked me through when we were going into Store Championship season. I decided to fly Defenders, and I was worried about Jumpmaster lists. And he flies Jumpmasters, and he sat down with me one night and he said, "Okay, we're going to go through this step-by-step thought process of what you want to do against this list."
Right.
And took the time, and we put the rocks down, and the first thing he said was, "Well, you've already messed up." And I was like, "What are you talking about?"
You must give him lanes.
And he was like, "You gave me lanes." So it did. I messed him up, but I was able to kind of throw him off. He did wind up winning, but I threw him off with some maneuvers he wasn't expecting, and he had to change his strategy. But it really does make a big difference. And,
Well, the first time I noticed it was, I didn't fly. It wasn't from. I mean, I did fly on rocks a lot at the beginning, but I realized that I kept coming around a corner or something, and I thought, man, if I'd have just moved this in at a certain spot, that would have helped out. I think sometimes it's just about getting them out of your way. Sometimes I like to bring them down on my side of the board and just get them away and move down there. And I think I said that in the video, but
right.
I can't remember because we shot it the
Yeah, we shot it
other day,
last
so we had to redo this part. So anyway, if you got any comments about this, if you agree, disagree, have other opinions, man, hey, we really appreciate you putting down the comments down there, and we'll certainly send you a message back about it. And
we can even discuss it later on in another video if we get comments, and we can talk about how one of the people who watched the video said, "Well, have you thought about this? Maybe it's something we've never thought about."
Sure.
So everybody's got ideas, So it's great.
and it just gives us great content. It gives us a way to interact with you guys. So again, thank you guys for watching this video. Like us on Facebook, like us on YouTube, subscribe to our channel, and share. Thank you so much.
All right, straighten up.
Fly right.
Thanks, guys.
Good night.